Yeah. So let's talk about the impact of these three big figures that we have covered: Rongzompa, Longchenpa, and Mipam. And they sort of represent the Nyingma position right now. Their works are the main text in the Nyingma scholastic curriculum. After Mipam, particularly, now you can see how the Nyingma scholastic system also develops. Nyingma before that was primarily a practice-oriented, ritual-oriented tradition, it seems. And Buddha nature comes also through the Terma teachings, but not so much of philosophical discussion that can be found there. But certainly Longzompa's writings, then later on Mipam's scholarly writings seem to give a new sort of boost to the sort of scholastic work in the Nyingma tradition. Today, if you look at the Nyingma world, how do you see the impact going in your interpretation of the Nyingma study of Buddha nature? What can be done to make it richer, or is it already so rich and has reached the optimal level?
Maybe it depends on what you want to achieve by studying these ideas. But now I consider myself as a historian of ideas, and also I think one of the collateral damage of my training in the West is that I think I became more and more interested in the historical development of these ideas, and not only within Nyingma, but also trying to understand the position of any given Tibetan or Indian scholar and see, I think the ultimate question that we need to ask is, have we managed to understand the position of that particular work and an author in a way that the author or the work itself would have wished to be understood, And in this regard, I think we still need to do a lot of work, and I myself am not sure whether my understanding is okay or not. But I think we can still continue and also try to find Indian sources and earlier Tibetan sources and so on. But now coming to the impact of this Ronglong Jusum, I think we have to understand always in relation to the Prasangika Madhyamaka or Sarvadhamma Apratishtanavada. I realize that we cannot do justice if we only if we focus the Buddha nature theory in a very narrow sense and isolate it from the rest of the intellectual edifice of these three figures. For example, I think as I said, there are common grounds for all of these three authors. I think we should recognize that there are certain common grounds, but there are major differences between these three. One difference is, especially apparently it's very clear that Rongzompa was so-called Sarvadhamma Apratishtanavada, Chuthamjo Rabdu Minebramo. So we can say one who proposes that no phenomena has ever any ontological or metaphysical substratum. So this is his major philosophy. And how about Longchenpa? Longchenpa's background, he comes from Sangpo Nyutok tradition. He has been maybe colored with the training that he had in the Sangpo Nyutok. But before he is a Madhyamika, Prasangika Madhyamika, he is a Dzogchenpa. So in the end, he manages to, it is interesting, he manages to put Prasangika Madhyamaka above the Sarvadhamma Apratishtanavada, but still keeping the Prasangika Madhyamaka view only at the level of the Paramitayana and reserving the rest from the sixth Tantric system all the way to Dzogchen as completely separate status. But if you look at Rongzompa, his Sarvadhamma Apratishtanavada is not a line, I say. It is a spectrum, is a range. And the lowest range starts from the system associated with sutric scriptures such as Vimalakirtanidesha, Gandharva Sutra, Ratna Guna Samjaya Gatha, Varjachetika, etc. So as my slogan or my kind of attempt to summarize this position, the difference is, I say, Rongzompa Sarvadhamma Aparsanavada starts where Longchenpa's Prasangika Madhyamaka stops. So it is very difficult to say, is he a Madhyamika? Rongzompa is a Sarvadhamma, and his lower range starts from Sutra all the way to culminating to Dzogchen, with different degrees, varying degrees of, I don't know, clarity, non-duality, etc. Even the Dange, the Nitartha Nyartha, that provisional and definitive distinction is made purely on the basis of this criteria. So there is a major difference. And I think Mipam's legacy is really, actually, I would like to, sorry, in this, I would like to just straight away say that Mipam's impact is that I think he wanted to, I would like to say, re-identify or give an identity to the Nyingma, his school. And I almost like to think that his Melam, Tengi Gepe Melam is a manifesto of who or what a Nyingma should be. And in his project, Rongzompa and Longchenpa seems to be used as his mentors or idols, and idealistic figures. So if you want to be a Nyingma, you should orient yourself according to these two giants. Yeah? So I think this is his project. This is the intellectual project of his. And I think that's how Rongzompa and Longchenpa fits into Mipam's project, so to speak, as a model. Of course, there are other figures, as you can see in the Tengi Melam, there are other important previous figures, but these two in the later, as an interpreters of the Nyingma doctrine, I think he's thought that they should be the mentors, they should be the icons, or even the representatives.
Yeah, it's very fascinating how you put the three figures. I think Rongzompa certainly has more influence from the sutras than Longchenpa perhaps, and Longchenpa uses quite a lot of experiential presentation. Plus, he is influenced by the milieu, and he lived in such a rich classical literary period. The 14th, 15th century has been one of the richest time, especially for Buddha nature studies. So the influence of Sangpo Nyuthog and many other scholars living around the same time. And Mipam, of course, you didn't touch on this, but I suppose he was influenced also by the Rime movement that he was part of. Yes. And also my take on his push for Nyingma sort of scholasticism and a more robust Nyingma scholarship based on Longchenpa and Rongzompa would be partly a reaction to the Gelugpa hegemony that a lot of the places where he spent time went through. So yeah, it's very interesting how this sort of social and scholarly milieu and the ideas around the time influences the way they look at Buddha nature. And all three, of course, are heavily influenced by Dzogchen in terms of their interpretation of Buddha nature, isn't it?